Do you mind talking about your injury?
Yeah, no problem.
So, take us through that night. What happened? And what happened right after? Did you know you were hurt? Did you oof, take us through that if you don't mind?
Yeah. Let me think. So we were in San Antonio for Raw. The night before was Elimination Chamber network special. And I had a dark match with Samoa Joe. And I don't 100% know why this happened. I think I had my arms underneath his arms, which was just applying too much pressure. I took it wrong. Anyway, take a muscle buster, and when we land, I see the whitest, like I've been rocked before, and you kind of see like stars or like almost a flash of what this felt like. I saw like the whitest light ever, and it was really thick, if that makes any sense. It was like took forever to get through this white light, and as I get through that white light, I'm paralyzed, completely paralyzed from my neck down, and my body feels like it weighs like 10 million pounds, or I can't move anything. Joe pins me 1, 2, 3. Cesaro goes to pull me out. I said, no, don't touch me. And I don't know how he could hear me. Like, I mean, we're in an arena, and I wasn't like screaming. I wasn't really able to move. Like 1, 2, 3, at about like 3, I can start to move my fingers a little bit. So probably paralyzed for like 5 or 6 seconds, which when you're paralyzed feels like a lot longer than that. Any longer, I probably would have started panicking. So, I mean, I'm very thankful. Even those 5 or 6 seconds, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It's scary, but luckily I didn't have to sit there long enough to really start to panic. I just knew that this was not good. And at first I didn't have any pain. Then start getting like feeling back. And then once I get the feeling back while I'm sitting in the ring, intense pain in the back of my neck. And I remember the ref came and asked me, he said, "Are you okay?" I said, "No." I said, "I broke my neck." And he was like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, I broke my neck, man." And Natty, I said, she saw I was hurt. She just, her instincts, she just ran off to find help. She ran off. So now it's Cesaro and I in the ring, and he said, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, I broke my neck." And he's like, I think he thought I was, I don't know what he thought, but I'm sure he was hoping I was exaggerating or just mad. I got up and I jumped out of the ring.
You walked to the back.
Yeah. I jumped out of the ring, and Cesaro said, "Hey, I thought you said your neck's broken." And I said, "It is." And he's like, "Well, how did you do that?" And I just said, "I don't know." That was like our exact conversation. That was like verbatim our conversation at ringside. Then we walk up through Gorilla. I go to the locker room. I shower, which I shouldn't have done any of this, but I showered. Then I go to the trainer's room. Then they have medics come and look at me, and then go to the hospital. And from there, they take me they do x-rays and probably CAT scan. And then from there, like this team like comes in, and they're like, they cut my shirt off. They're like, I said, "I can just take it off." They're like, no, you cannot move your head. And I was like, guess now's not the time to tell them that I've already showered and done these other things. Oh my God. I can laugh about it now. It's obviously very scary in the moment. So they brought me to this other hospital that specializes in cervical injuries. And Did an MRI that night. I remember, so I've done a lot of MRIs. At the time, I'd only ever done one prior for my knee. And I remember, so I have the collar on and my neck is, for lack of a better term, broken. It wasn't technically broken, but it's actually worse than a break. The ligament holding my C2 in place ruptured. So now my C2 hit my spinal cord. That's what the white light was. They call it a spinal cord concussion. That's what that was. And that's what the temporary paralysis was. Luckily, it wasn't worse. You don't have to sever your spinal cord to be paralyzed. You can touch it and be paralyzed. So I dodged a lot of bullets. I dodged rounds and rounds of machine gun bullets that day. So anyway, they had me on this MRI. My neck is, like I said, for lack of a better term, broken. I have the collar on. And then this is the only MRI I've ever done where like they almost put like this Hannibal Lecter mask over top. And I remember they're like, all right, it's going to be loud, blah, blah, blah. Like, try not to move. And I just remember thinking like, I couldn't move if I tried. I had this collar on and I got this Hannibal Lecter mask on. And I was like, and my neck hurts a lot. I was like, if you paid me to move, it'd be tough to move right now. So, and then I remember spending the night in like almost the basement of this like hospital. I had no phone service, no real answers yet. And then the doctor came in the morning and that's when he kind of delivered the news that, I remember he came walking in and he was like, hey, so to your MRIs, like, you won't wrestle again. And I'd like to do surgery like immediately. And it was like, whoa, hold on. And it was, that night, obviously sitting there with my neck, I remember thinking, I don't think I'll ever be able to wrestle again. And so when he came and said that in the morning, even though it was like still very fresh, I'd already kind of like told myself that. So that wasn't so alarming. But then Natty was very funny. She was like, well, hold on. Are you the best surgeon? Or like, are you the best for this surgery? Because he said it's very tricky. It's your C1. We would have to fuse your C1 and C2, which is as high up as it goes.
Right. And
Natty said, hold on, are you the best? And to his credit, he said, well, no, I wouldn't say I was the best. He's like, I could do this, but I wouldn't say I was the best. And Natty said, no. Luckily through WWE, like we have access to the best. So like, we're not going to, and with an injury this, we're not going to mess around. And so then the next few days, I sat in this hospital in San Antonio. They moved me up to a proper room and stuff. But now they're working on an airlift to get me to Tampa, which is where my surgeon it's also where I live, but it just happens to be where my surgeon that I end up going through, he happens to be located here at that time. Now he's in Phoenix. But man, like, it was scary. It was a very scary ordeal. It was, there was no malice or bad intent in anything. It just was a circumstance. It was just a whirlwind or a thunderstorm of like awful circumstances, like kind of bundled into one. Awful. But then on the other side is, luckily, I was okay. I remember I went to UFC once and I was in this VIP room and there was this guy in a wheelchair asked me for a picture and we got to talking a little bit and he asked me, he said, what did you have done? I said, my C1 and C2. And he was like, his eyes got so big and he said, man, you should be in this wheelchair with me, but you should have like the breathing. I said, believe me, I know that. And we had a great talk. I remember telling him, I said, he was like, man, thanks so much for talking to me. And I was like, nah, I said, what's funny is you may not believe this, but I definitely got more out of this talk with you than you got out of this talk with me. And so that's basically the gist of my injury. Obviously, it took me a couple of years to like really heal and be able to kind of heal, both physically and mentally, spiritually to come back to wrestling. It was I almost did it for exactly 20 years. I had my very first match in July 23rd, 1995, and my injury is June 1st, 2015. So it's almost exactly 20 years. So, I mean, it took for me to come back in 2 years and be a producer, to me, I think this is pretty good time to heal physically and then begin to heal and be able to understand that, like, that's what I used to do. Being in the ring is what I used to do. Now this is this new role I'm going to try out.
You look fantastic. Do you have any effects from the injury that affect your everyday life?
Yeah, like my neck. Obviously, I don't have full. He's on the warpath now. I actually can see him walking around. He's pause.
Here.
What are you doing? Come here. He's being bad. Where he wants attention, but he won't come get it. So I don't have full rotation. I was supposed to only regain like 50%, which would probably be like that. But I have way more than I'm supposed to have. So I'm grateful for. The truth is, man, I feel really good. I feel really good when I wake up in the morning. Like my hips don't hurt, my knees don't hurt. Pause. What are you doing? He's finally. I might finally get him. What are you doing? What are you doing? Why crying like that? Here he is.
There we go.
Champion.
That's a big cat.
What are you doing? Why crying? This guy's too funny. He's very personable. That's why he's crying. But yeah, like, I think I've gotten used to knowing that, like, my neck has a certain amount of motion to it, and certain things, if I push it, will bother it. So I think even subconsciously, I've gotten used to these kind of things, and I'm pretty good about not pushing my neck like that. And yeah, so I mean, obviously, sometimes the muscles of my neck will be like tight or stiff, but for the most part, and yeah, I get a lot of massages. I get a lot of work done on me a lot. So that definitely helps. And I think it's just, I obviously, I think everyone in wrestling has a high threshold of pain. So, I mean, honestly, like my friend asked me this the other day too. He said, "Hey, how's your neck feel like on a daily basis?" And I said, honestly, I feel pretty good. And I don't have a lot of, I probably just have little aches and pains. I don't have any kind of like lingering. Yeah. Brett told me when I turned 42, he said, wait till you're like 42. I remember he's like, how old are you now? And I was like, 38. And he's like, what, you're like 42? I was like, 42? Why is that? But anyway, that's how old I am now. And thus far, I feel great still.